Good afternoon. I'm Deanne Moyle Hicks. I am currently a 4th grade teacher at Natchez Elementary School on the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation. I retired in June, made it 6 months, and now I'm back. So for half a year, so that will put me at 5.5 years at Natchez Elementary School. When I went to Natchez 6 years ago, I was recruited by a principal to go there with him, started with a 1st grade classroom, and last year they graduated and I graduated with them. So I've been with them for the whole 5 years that they were at Natchez. Part of that was a COVID issue. Originally it was to start a little, to see what would happen if I looped with them for a year, what kind of relationships we could build and what that might do as teachers in the building. Then COVID happened and it just ended up being 5 years of us together. So as they left last year, they cried, I cried, and then I came back to a new group of kids. So super excited to be there. I grew up in Eureka, Nevada, which is south of here, central Nevada area. I lived there with my parents who own a farm. I now currently spend my summers there with both of my sisters. We run the family farm together in the summer. They work there full time. And the plan was I was going to retire and work at the farm full time. But I made a little bit of that. So we're going to give that a second round this next year and see what happens, right? I have 31 years in the classroom. Of those 31 years, I spent 5 years out as an instructional coach. Decided that was not the place for me. I needed to go back into the classroom because I felt like that's where I could make the biggest impact. Let's see, what else? 31 years. 21 years in Elko County. I started in Elko County. They gave me my first job. As we talked at lunch, I was going to be there a year. 21 years later, I relocated to Washoe County. Been in Washoe County now for 6 years, and I spent Washoe County for 10 years. I spent the first 5 years in town in Sparks, and then that last little 6 out there, 5.5, and in Natchez. So once I got to Natchez, it just really stole my heart. It's a very small community, and just started to connect with the kids and the families, and it felt like home to me. So I stayed for a little while. One of the things that I'm going to talk about today is we've been working on a Nevada Portrait of the Learner project at Natchez. We started it last year. Our project is identity investigations, and I'm going to talk about a reason for that before, but a piece of it has to do with this, right? We need to know who we are and what that means and how we contribute to the bigger communities around us. And part of that is what we wanted to bring to our students and ultimately to the community. As I get started here, I have to read this, but I want to offer a land acknowledgement. Showing respect to Nevada's tribal nations, I acknowledge and honor the lands of and part of my pronunciation, I'm still working on it, so I have my mentors who are always helping me, the Washishu, the Washoe, the Numu, Northern Paiute, Nuwu, Southern Paiute, and Niwi, Western Shoshone of the Great Basin. I acknowledge our meeting place here today rests on the tribal lands of the Duck Valley Reservation of the Western Shoshone and the Northern Paiute people. I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and future generations, and extend my respects to all Native veterans. This acknowledgement is a call for further action in assisting the amplification of Indigenous voices and building relationships with local Indigenous communities to support learning. If you have a tribe that you would also like to acknowledge at this time, I would like to give space for that. All right, thank you. So we started to talk about, oh yes, Fawn, sorry. I'm not Fawn, Ferdina. Nuwu. Thank you. For Las Vegas, Nuwu. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right.
Timok? Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to acknowledge the Mojave tribe of Southern Nevada, which is also an extension, their homelands extended to what is now Southern Nevada.
Thank you. Awesome. Anybody else? Sorry, I started right on in there. Apologize for that. Thanks, Ferdina. So a few years ago, I'm going to talk about Ferdina here for just a minute, and Fawn. That's why it was on my mind, right? Fawn Hunter. So when I first moved to Natchez, we had some professional development. Ferdina came out from the State Department, and Fawn Hunter from the Washoe County School District came out and did a professional development for us, and as helping us as non-native teachers and in the community that we were in to understand where we are, what that means, right? And this journey. And they asked these 3 questions. And so I want to give pause for just a minute and allow you an opportunity to think about these 3 questions as they relate to yourself as well. Who am I? What do I believe? And who is someone I look up to? When Ferdina asked me that question, it was really hard. I didn't really have a lot of answers. Mostly because I was sitting in a community with people who had connection to the land. They had connection to the community. They could voice those connections. They could share their tribal affiliations. They could share their bands. They talked about their rich history, their cultures, their traditions. And I was like, I'm a teacher. And it kind of stopped there. Right? I had a hard time identifying what am I past that. What do I believe in? I believe in humanity. I believe in peace. I believe in compassion and empathy. I could get to those kinds of things. And then people that I look up to, family, friends, people around me who I felt supported and lived in that same value system as me. But it was really struggling with this who am I piece. And what does that mean for me as a person and my commitment, my contribution to a greater good? What kind of a legacy does that mean for me? And I struggled with it, and Ferdina was there, and she could tell you I cried during the professional development. It was a really tough moment for me, but it was the beginning of a bigger journey in me recognizing who am I and how do I connect. Since I've started that journey, there's some things about me that have changed, and a piece of that is I listen to stories. And I listen to perspectives of others, and at times it pushes inside of me on stories that are not those stories. And I feel it. I can feel it. I start to feel it now. I can recognize that. And I'm like, why is this? At first I'd be like, oh, that's not the story I've heard. That's not what I believe. And now when I feel that, I think to myself, something's pushing here against something that I thought was true that's not really true anymore. And so now I look at my perspective as not one of that I have this perspective and this is the only way, but how can I create a perspective of curiosity so that others' perspectives have space within me? And when I feel those things come up inside of me, I'm able to take that step for just a moment and say, this is pushing against something you've been told. This is somebody else's perspective about that same thing. You've got to let that go and open and listen. And so with that in mind, we moved on into the portrait project. I voluntold a few teachers at my school last year that we were going to kind of start this project. And a piece of what we started to talk about together is this question: what if every learner is given the opportunity, the resources, and the experience to research and engage in exploring their identity, their ancestry, their culture, their geographical background, and the historical events and behaviors tied to their identity? I know it's a big thing, right? And we were looking at that and thinking, we're here at Natchez, we have this beautiful tradition and culture that's all around us, and how do we embrace that as teachers so that we can also support our students in their journeys in creating their identities, and what does that mean for their communities? A piece of this also started, I was selected as the 2022 Nevada Teacher of the Year, and that was a whole nother journey, right, in and of itself. And so these things are going on in my, who am I? And now I've got this whole other thing added to that. Who am I? And I'm imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here, right? This is not my space. I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I can just barely get to work on time. And I don't know why I have this. And then there was a special project the year of my Teacher of the Year. Dr. Biden reached out to all the 2022 Teachers of the Year that year and said, we want to put together this year at Christmas some trees that represent the identities of the students across the country. And any Teacher of the Year that would like to participate, we'd ask for you to please have students do a self-portrait and send those to us. So these are some pictures of the trees that were in the White House and highlighting the students that we have from our school there in that particular thing. And for me, it was like, oh, this is nice, right? And my kids were like, what? My stuff's gonna be on the tree in the White House? And then I was like, here's a space. Here's a space to amplify them, to put them in a place where they are center stage, where their faces are seen, where their culture is celebrated. And so we did it. We submitted our stuff. And then I was invited to go to the White House. I would have liked to have taken all of them with me. Fortunately, that wasn't offered. But we did go, and we got to see their ornaments. And just knowing the excitement, when I walked through the doors at the White House, I was greeted by one of the staff members, and she said, "What school are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Natchez." And she's, "I have to tell you, I'm not supposed to say this, but your guys' ornaments are my favorite." I said, "Thank you," because they worked really hard. But it was my first lesson in helping students also start to realize what is your identity, because they didn't know. Our first draft did not look like this. Our first draft looked like their face and some YouTube symbols, right? And some PS5 symbols, and can I look up the Facebook symbol and things like that? And I was like, so I had to step back and say, what's happening here? You have this great culture. You have these great traditions. You have all of this amazing stuff, and you're putting YouTube on your on your ornament, right? So we had to take a step back, and in my mind, that's kind of the beginning of where this journey has taken me, and ultimately the staff, the kids, and the community. That's Natchez right there. And as we start this, we're gonna play this short video. Washoe County School District put this video together for our school. A piece of our outreach for identity is also into the community, and how do we celebrate the community, so that those students who are involved in these celebrations and traditions have a space to be able to do that, but also so that our students who are non-native, or our students who are not part of this, have this space where they can see and start to appreciate and understand from a young age what it looks like to have such a rich culture.
I've been here since 1997, and we've been doing the Native American Month powwow since then. It's great. It's awesome to have the community here, the kids enjoying it, and they were all excited today, waiting for parents to come and get them dressed. And so it's a great day today at Natchez. We are probably about 95% Native American students. We like having the powwow during the school day so that all the students may participate. Whether they have regalia or not, they're welcome to participate.
Well, it's fun, and I like to do it because I get to meet new people. Well, it's really important because if we don't do this, then we might lose our tradition, old dances.
Powwows are actually a celebration that we are still here, because there's a lot of non-native people that don't even know Native Americans exist anymore. So when we have these types of gatherings, it just fills the children with pride in who they are, and to show the world that we are still here, we're still thriving, we're into education and teaching our children a good way of life.
I think it brings the culture alive to the students. They may not live in a home that lives by tradition or practices cultural activities, what have you. So it gives them a chance to learn those things here at the school. And we're grateful that we're able to do that with our community programs, with our community members that are willing to come in.
Terrence is our Natchez Brave. So he's becoming a spokesperson for us as he's fifth grader this year, so very exciting there. So with the Portrait of the Nevada Learner, it gave us an opportunity for me, as I said, to voluntold some people that this was going to be important. We needed to get this process started. And we started out as a really small group last year, and we decided going back to our driving question, how can we incorporate in the school day, what that looks like, and how can we help students build their identities, and why is that important? Also important for them. Why is it important for them to do that? So for each grade level, we have a driving question, and we have a capstone project, and then we ultimately have a fifth grade capstone project. This is we're like in early days, right? So I'm super excited because I watched Toe's presentation, and I'm like, we're gonna get there. We're going to get there, yes. I mean, this is what to aspire to in order to create this environment for our students. So As we start in kindergarten, our ultimate goal in kindergarten, I want to make sure that I use my notes right here so I don't forget something. But our kindergarten driving question is, who am I and who is my family? So this is in partnership with the families. The students take home this right here and have these conversations with their families about what is it that makes us a family, who are our ancestors, where are our roots, what's our food, our traditions, our celebrations, and so they write those down. They come back and then as a group, they list this out. So this is a class list here, a graphic organizer created by the teacher. They create this graphic organizer that has everybody's food, traditions, all of that on there. And then from this, they create a Venn diagram. They work in pairs or triads to work with a couple other people to say, oh, these are the things, I like pizza too, right? Or, oh, I go to powwows too. And so that giving them an opportunity to connect with others in the classroom that might have a similar life experience and or identity to them. And then from that, they work with, we have several community members that work in the school that do both our language program and our art program. And so then they work with Brenda Burns, who is our art teacher, and she works with them and they create something from that. And so this project, what she had them was they had a dream catcher, and she found pictures of all of the things on those lists, printed them out for the kids, and so they cut them out and then they glue them on their dream catcher. Ultimately, our goal is to create a portfolio for them over the course of their career at Natchez so that they can take those with them. First grade is who am I still and where have I been? So a piece of that is understanding where does their family come from? What does that look like as we think today about, as we're sitting here and thinking about place, right? My place, where is my place, and what does that mean, and what does that look like for me? So this is an interactive writing. So for first grade, sometimes hard for them to write on their own. So they have sentence stems and those that they can do. But they did this with the language teacher. So she came in talking about the English is horse, and in Paiute it's puku. And so they're drawing both of those, and then they're writing their sentence. Wednesday, I have culture with my class. First, I do Paiute. Next, I learn how to speak Paiute. It teaches us about Paiute things because we are Paiute people. So just giving that sense of connection, and then support there for our non-native students too, or our students who might be Latinx coming from a different place as well, helping them to see into their identities. In second grade, who is my tribe? Where is my family from? Why or how did my ancestors settle? So getting a little bit deeper into the identity and them understanding the land-based part of what's happening in their community or where they may have come from and why they're there. And then this is where we start the self-portraits. So I know Lynn, did you talk about we're walking in two worlds, right? In this idea earlier. So what part of you lives in westernized culture and what part of you lives in native culture? And how does that look for you? Does it look different? Third grade. Oh, I don't have third grade up there because our third grade, they didn't like being voluntold, but we're getting there. Once they found out their slide's empty, they might want to jump on board here. No, just kidding. In third grade is where does my tribe fit into the world and where do I see people like me in the world? So going back again to the work of Toe and what does that look like for them starting off at a younger age. In fourth grade, we did I am poems this year. In fourth grade, we're also working to connect that to Nevada history. So we're bringing not just the Nevada history piece, but also what's the different perspective of Nevada history. And what does that look like, particularly for our Pyramid Lake Paiute community members. So we started with this, The Best Part of Me, and they're doing an I am poem, and then they will be connecting back as the year goes on, connecting that back to their community. So how is who I am here, how can that be a part of my community and what might that look like? So this is, their name is usually at the top, first name at the top for those of you that know I am poems, and last name at the bottom, but I did delete those. So smart, kind, helpful, who loves pets, friends, family, who needs love, Aaliyah, and friends, who hopes for a new house, peace, and snow, who feels anxiety, stressed, sad, who would like to see Paris, Colorado, Russia, who wonders about how technology works, who wants mint chocolate chip ice cream, chocolate iPhone. Who worries about Padua bear? Did I say that right? Padua? Is that close? Close. Thank you. Bear, which is the name of her dog, she worries about the dog leaving her, war and school shootings, who dreams of becoming a nurse, getting a job, and going to college. So ultimately what we want is for them to see that the things that you dream about, those are things you can have. They have to be who you are, right? It's not what we are, it's who we are ultimately that makes an impact in our spaces around us. The other thing too, a little piece for me in this project is so that the teachers in our school can see the kids they have. So if I don't take the time to do things like this with my students, I don't see them. And if I don't see them, I don't understand why today you're sad, or why today you're struggling, or chasing somebody around on the playground, right? Touching or not behaving the way you should be. So a piece of this for me is as a staff, so we can start to see who our students are. This is from last year in 5th grade. I'm gonna talk, and then there's a really weird pause there in the video. But part of 5th grade promotion at Natchez is the expectation that the students give a speech to their families. And so we decided last year that we would start with they're gonna have a PowerPoint. So they have the PowerPoint up, everybody can watch it. He's very speed reader.
All these things are math learning and all I started learning to use school and have good grades, and now that I am as the act better and not child escape. How I can make belonging because of people I know and all my friends, and also people I can trust that help me and people that have been here for me mostly, that is I respect because he has been my friend since I first came here. Also, why I feel like I'm here is because the people that respected me and that's why I feel like belong. The dream I have for my life. The dream I have for my life is to become a good teacher, so when I start to make money or write any expense out, my mom and dad could live with me, or if they want to live with me and I go to my sister's house for some days, then I would be a streamer and watch or back to home with me or just watch them. I also like to go somewhere with my auntie and my dad and some other people that watch it. Also, when I grow old, I will most likely travel the world, take people to haunted places because I like traveling and see. How can I my life? How will make this happen? How will make this happen is to finish high school and then start saving my money. And when I have enough money, I will make a company and sell my art on the company and sell clothes I designed them. Then when I gain enough money, I'll start looking for a big modern house in LA, Beverly Hills. I might get a house in Las Vegas, but it will maybe be too hot, so I will have a pool, but it will cost extra money. Then I would start a channel on social media platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Then I would bring famous ghost hunters and YouTube people and some friends from Natchez.
So the end of this project is these posters on the side. I have one over there to show you kind of the real life size of it. But the goal of the end capstone project in 5th grade is for them to show up and represent who they want to be as a person. And so they get to choose any way that they want to be represented in the posters. And then at graduation, the posters are posted behind them, the promotion that's posted behind them, and then they get to take them home. Part of our goal is to start this poster project early, 1st grade or so they can see this evolution of themselves as a person as time goes on. And as I'm listening to this though, and I'm thinking about this morning and what Dr. Brabo was saying is about how have I perpetuated maybe this box in what these kids have presented in their PowerPoint, right? Is there a different way that I can approach this so that it doesn't put them in that box that you're talking about? So I'm listening and I'm hopefully I'm learning as I move on, and I'd love some help with that. So this is our 5th grade this year, the kids that are working. So going back to helping them also start to create who they are and what that means for their commitment to their communities. And so their names are along the side, and then it's just an acrostic poem. Those are posted outside. It's just kind of the beginning of what they're going to do in that time. In having the conversation, this 5th grade teacher is not a part of our portrait project, but the 5th grade, I do want to read you, I forgot I was supposed to be giving you the 5th grade question. The 5th grade has a lot. So what is the future of my culture? How does my identity fit into my culture? How will I continue to connect and belong in both my culture and the world outside my culture? What are the needs in my community? How do I take the strength of my identity with me wherever I go? This next unit that we have coming up in ELA is challenges and characters having particular challenges. And so as I was working with the 5th grade teacher to develop that next 3-week unit of hers, our goal is to kind of, there are certain things we also have to do, right? So the first 2 weeks, how can we use the information from the program that we've been provided, and then in that 3rd week, expand that. And not even being part of the portrait project, she was like, oh, this is perfect, because she goes, I'm going to take it to how do I take my strength and my identity with me wherever I go, and kind of extend that on so that kids start to see that that is a connection and an extension of themselves. So we are definitely a work in progress in getting there. So our next steps, we just had our meeting again this week. Our next steps are, at this point, it's been pretty staff driven in terms of the small group of us. We do have a couple people from the community that have been helping us, but our outreach to the community is our next step. How do we now start to, each one of our grade levels has a community connection piece, like who in the community can come in and teach these lessons and support us? What does that look like? And then our big next step, like I said, is Terrence is he's our brave. And so he's going to start to step up and do some things at the school. So how do we start to get kids involved in recognizing these are their strengths? These are things they can do in our school for us, so that the school is driven by them, created by them, for them, and we just happen to be there to support them in that journey. So I think that's probably about it. Thank you very much.